Camera? Ready? Action! They said he could only get my good side. Welcome.
Maybe wait. Hold on, he's not ready.
Hang on.
I didn't remind you all to silence your phones if you have not already. A thing that we all tend to forget about. Yes, we do.
I didn't do it.
Okay, now we're ready.
We're ready.
No noise.
All right. Well, welcome, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Shirley Singh, and I was a physical therapist. I am retired. I practiced therapy for over 40 years. I did a lot of different settings, hospitals, rehab, long-term care, home care. I worked in a lymphedema clinic. So I've done a lot of different things. That's one of the things that I loved about therapy is there's so many different avenues you can take your career. And unlike my husband, who was a nurse and stayed in the same hospital for 38 years, I tended to change wanted something new or something a little different, and I frequently changed every 7 or 8 years. So fall prevention is something that is really important for all of us as we age, including me, because I notice changes. So as we get older, you know, we're not as young or spry, as strong, as flexible as we were when we were 20. So the fall prevention becomes very important as we get older. Now, before we go into some of the information, I do want to just do some housekeeping rules first. Number one, this presentation does not take the place of a therapy evaluation or direct treatment. These are just general guidelines. I don't want to go to jail for practicing therapy without a license, because I'm no longer licensed. And, you know, whenever you start an exercise program, you know, if there's been a change in your condition, you should always check with your doctor. You know, is it safe for me to do these types of activities? So that's important too. And safety is most important. The last thing you want to do while you're trying to improve your physical body is to injure yourself. Everybody has different conditions coming in. Everybody has special needs. So again, it's really important as I demonstrate and have you participate. Don't do anything that hurts. If you're not comfortable doing it, you feel unsafe, don't do it. Now there are ways to modify balance activities. They don't have to be done in standing. You can do a lot of things for your balance in sitting positions as well, and we'll go over some of those things. And finally, if you have any questions with the information I'm giving, just feel free to ask. I want it to be informative and beneficial for you. So if you have questions, somebody else probably has that question too, so feel free to ask. Okay, so we're going to start with why fall prevention is important. And you can go online and there's lots of information out there. The CDC puts out lots of information on fall prevention and statistics. And once people are over the age of 65, there is a fall every second of every day. That's a lot of falls. So, and my guess is it's probably higher than that, because who wants to admit, oh, I fell? You know, so it's probably even higher than that. Now, not all of those falls lead to injuries, but the more times you fall, the more likely you are to fall. So, again, you want to address it. If you are noticing that you are falling, and they say if you fall more than twice a year, you should be getting an assessment and treatment. If you fall once a year with an injury, you should be doing something to assess your fall risk and treating it. Because the really sad news is, you know, there is, once someone has fallen, there is, with injury, there is a, you know, mortality rate with that too. Now, everybody that falls and gets hurt isn't going to die, but again, it really can change your mobility and your health. So you do want to make sure that you do something. Okay, so what are some of the risk factors for falling? And, you know, I want you to use this list as kind of a check-off to how many checks you have. Okay, so age. So we already know if you're over 65, you're at risk. Vision. Do you have vision changes? Again, vision is one of those things that that tend to decline with age. So again, it's really important if you are noticing visual changes that you see your eye doctor and get those things addressed. Hearing. Hearing also affects your balance. If you're in a group of people and you hear someone coming at you, it alerts you, it sets your environment to look for people coming into your space or moving around to help prevent injuries. Home environment. It always bothered me, because I've been hearing this for 40 plus years, how unsafe our homes are. And it's like, well, I just can't believe that our homes are that unsafe. But when you think about it, there are a couple of things that I think are very important in assessing your home. But the other thing, as we age and as we become less immobile, where are we spending most of our time? At home. So it only makes sense that if you're going to fall, that's where it's going to be. But there are some really important things you can do to help prevent falls in your home, and we will talk about those as well. I did read one statistics that they said that 75% of the falls occur indoors. Only 25% occur outdoors. The bathroom is the most likely place to fall with a resulting injury. And 1/3 of all falls are due to tripping or slipping. So another risk factor is medication. Are you on medication? Does that medication have any side effects that affect your balance? Does it make you lightheaded? Does it make you tired, fatigued? Again, those are all factors that can lead to falling. Chronic medical conditions. A lot of chronic medical conditions. I'm talking about diabetes. With diabetes, for example, neuropathy, it may affect your ability to sense in your feet, especially, and extremities. Other conditions, chronic kidney disease, heart disease, all those things affect your energy, your strength. So those chronic conditions also can affect your balance. Strength. how many people, show of hands, how many people feel that as you've gotten older, you've gotten weaker? Okay, you know what? That's normal. It is normal that we get weaker, but the thing to remember is that you don't have to let yourself get even weaker. Exercise for strength can improve your strength. You can increase it. You do not need to let that loss continue. It's gradual, and some of us don't notice it, but all of us, you know, because we're still functioning, but then all of a sudden you get to the point where, oh my gosh, my legs are so weak now I can't get out of a chair. What happened? Again, it didn't happen overnight. You know, you've been getting weaker for over a long period of time. Now, like I said, it's really important to remember, with exercise, you can increase your strength. I have worked with patients well into their 90s to work on strength, and it works. The biggest thing is you have to do the exercise. No one can do it for you, and I think one of the biggest failures of people that why they don't continue to exercise is because they're not seeing improvement. And I hate to exercise, I'll admit it, but it's really important to remember that when you start an exercise program, to build that strength to the point that you're going to feel a functional difference, you have to expect that that's going to take 4 to 6 weeks. So a lot of us are starting exercising and it's like, oh dang, I'm not feeling anything, I'm not noticing any difference. It takes time. It took time for that loss to occur. It takes time to regain it. Another interesting statistic, you know, as we get older, again, we're more likely to become ill or be laid up for some reason. For every day that you are down and resting, how many days do you think it takes to recover? Any guesses?
3,
7. 7. So if you have the flu, or you've been out of commission for 5 or 6 days, you're looking at almost 7 weeks to regain the strength that you lost while you were ill. So again, exercise and activity is really, really important. Now you're going to get, that's to get back to where you were. You're going to be feeling a lot better before that 7 weeks and be making progress, but it does take time to get back to where you were. And, you know, and I think that's another reason why sometimes people start a steady decline is because, okay, something happens and you, okay, I'm not feeling well, you've rested, you're going to start building back up. You build back up a little bit, so you're feeling a little better, you're getting through your day, but you never get back to where you were, so now you're starting at a lower level again. So it's just this continual decline gradually that we can do something about. So, and that's why I'm here. Flexibility. Now, arthritis, probably the biggest thing as we get older, we become less flexible. It's really important to have good flexibility, especially in your hips, your knees, and your ankles. Our poor ankles a lot of times get forgotten because, you know, people think of hips and knees, but ankle flexibility is really important for balance and for safe walking. And balance level. You know, how do you feel your balance is? You know, can you hop like you used to? Can you jump? You know, can you do all those things? And again, a lot of those things, those aren't appropriate as you get older. But again, you want to work on your balance because just like flexibility and strength, you can improve it. if you do exercises to improve it. You do have to challenge yourself with the balance, just like you have to challenge yourself with strengthening, and you have to challenge yourself with improving flexibility and stretching. But again, you need to do it gradually, safely, and I'm a really big fan of doing things that you like. For example, I'm a water person. I could be in the water 12 hours a day. I love being in the water, and I exercise a lot in the water. So find whatever your passion is, and try to incorporate exercise into the things that you love doing. Makes it a lot easier. I love going to the squares and watching the line dancers. I think, they're not gonna fall. You watch how they move. There's one gentleman that we watch, and I know he's well into his 90s, and he's out there line dancing, and it's like, he dances circles around a lot of people. So again, it's just proof, if you use it, you won't lose it, and you can make it better. But you want to do it safely. And you have to deal with where you're at so that you don't make yourself worse by causing any injuries either. So that's why, it's really important to talk to your doctor, therapy referral to actually address your needs specifically. Any questions so far? All right, so we're going to move on to what is your fall risk. Okay, now I want you just to circle if you answer any of these questions, yes. Have you fallen in the past year? Circle it if you do, if you have. The next one, do you use an assistive device or have you been told you should? Do you feel unsteady when walking? Do you steady yourself by using furniture as you walk across the room? Do you need to use your hands to help you stand up from a seated position? Do you need to rush when going to the bathroom? Do you have decreased sensation in your feet? Do any of your medications make you feel lightheaded or tired? Do you take medication to help you sleep? Do you often feel sad or depressed? Now, you don't have to share, but if you have 4 or more, you are at risk for falling. So again, we already talked a little bit about common causes of falling, but we're going to lower extremity weakness, so weakness in your hips, knees, and ankles, difficulty walking, medication, vision, footwear. Just a comment about footwear. I'm a sandal girl, and that's a no-no. I have my tennis shoes on today. You really do want a good supportive shoe with a good counter. Now the counter is referring to the heel counter and back. And again, it's really important to have good footwear. If you have foot pain, you really should see if there's anything that you can help, you know, because if your feet hurt, you're not going to walk, and walking is very important if you're going to improve your balance and your mobility. Interesting enough, I think it was the CDC, it made a statement that immobility or otherwise sitting is the new health predictor, you know, and it's even worse than smoking now, inactivity. So again, it's really important to stay active. So foot pain is something that you should address, and for balance, you know, it's your foot that hits the floor first, so that's providing you your initial balance, so it is important. Cognitive problems, decreased memory, history of falling, and again, we already kind of talked about that. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about home safety. And we already talked about falls inside, outside, bathrooms, tripping. Falls are the leading cause of household injuries. So if people do get hurt in their homes, it's usually because they've fallen, not because of anything else. Common falls in the home are wet floors, so being really extra careful in the bathroom, in the kitchen, loose carpet. One of the first thing I did when we would go into a home to see a patient in home care is roll up all your rugs. Get rid of them because they are a tripping hazard. And then clutter. And not necessarily for the person who lives in the home, but I'll never forget one of my dear friends had a bunch of grandkids for the weekend, and they were playing video games, and they had cords laying all over the living room, and she fell, tripped on those cords. You know, so changes in your environment are really important to be aware of too. Pets are another one. I know how dear our pets can be to us, but again, they're moving, and you really have to be careful because you don't know where they're going to be or what they're necessarily going to do, their next movement. So it's something, I know pets give a lot of companionship. They're like children sometimes, so I get it. But just really, if you do have pets, just really be careful and be aware of where they are and what they like to do. So those, yes?
So you said roll up the rugs, and I understand
Oh,
scatter rugs.
scatter rugs.
Okay, can't they just be taped down?
Well,
Because they cushion your fall when you're falling on these
they do, but again, remember the biggest cause is tripping. It's been a while ago. I had some arthritis. I don't really have any problem with any joint except it got in my big toe. I think it was because of doing exercises with my patients all the time. And they don't have a replacement for your big toe joint yet. Or they did, but my surgeon said they're not very successful. You don't want to do that. So they go, we fuse your toe. So my toe is only in one position. And I've noticed as I've gotten older, I trip a lot more with that foot because she gave me enough motion that I don't have a problem with the movement, the motion, but I don't push off like I normally did with that foot because my toe doesn't move anymore. So again, it's just, they are really tripping hazards, and I get it. They do, but they do, they're making some much better rugs now. They've got those, is it the ones like you have in the kitchen?
Oh, the wings.
The
rubber
The
bands.
rubber,
Yeah.
yeah,
The soft
and they're
bands.
thick.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's pretty hard to trip on those.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I
but.
beg the difference because your tennis shoes.
Oh,
It
catches, yeah.
Catches on the rubber.
You know, and that's another really good
Rubber soles on the-
awareness too. You know, I remember back in the 80s, do you remember when those crepe shoes? Oh my gosh, the soles were so sticky. I think more people fell than didn't, prevented falls because, so, that is true. Sometimes if your shoe is too grippy, or do you ever notice when you get a pair of tennis shoes and they're brand new? They're a little more sticky until you've worn them down a little bit. So, I mean, good things, and again, it's good just to be aware of these things so that you can be a little more careful. But I agree.
Done it, but be careful.
Yeah,
It
and
sounds good.
I know, but that's the important thing of being aware of your environment, because those things do make a change in how you move. So it is very, very important. All right. Ma'am?
Yes, they've got an ad out. There's a machine that you can put your feet in and you can just, it keeps going.
Biking,
Yeah.
a seated, yeah. I
What do
mean,
you
that's,
think of that?
those are fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's movement, it's exercise, so
Yeah.
anything you can do
Okay.
to safely move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say that's comparable to treadmill?
Not quite.
Okay.
So, again, it's always important for people to do what they can. But in a seated position, you're exercising your leg, you're working your core probably lightly, but you're not working with your standing balance. So if you're going to really affect standing balance, you need to do it in standing. Good questions. Yes.
How much exercise should we be doing? When you say stay active, what does that mean to you?
To me. Okay, so I'll tell you, again, that's a really hard question to answer because everybody is different. I can tell you I do aerobics usually 6 days a week. On the day I don't do aerobics, I notice it. It's like, oh, I should go to the pool on my own and do something because I feel so much better after I exercise and after I move. So again, I think the answer is what feels good to you. When does exercise become not such a good thing? I think we need to move every day. Absolutely. Now, do you have to exercise every day? A lot of the research out there, says 30 to 60 minutes 3 times a week. But that means a whole lot of different things to a whole lot of different people too. Because a lot of times when they're talking that 30 to 60 minutes, they're talking about really intense exercise. I don't ever like doing intense exercise.
Or break the 30 into 2 15s.
Yeah. And sometimes people have to do that. Again, that's what I'm saying. Whatever works for you to keep you moving is most important. Now, and I'll get to you in just a second, Gracia. I want to finish answering your question. The other thing is, movement in general, is exercise. We're talking about moving. So you get up in the morning, you get dressed, you cook, you clean the house, you take the pet out, You know, all of those things count as activities. The problem is when you plop down on the couch and watch Lifetime for 3 or 4 hours, or whatever, or sports. Don't just pick on the women, right? You know, so that's when it gets to be a problem. How many people notice that when you've been sitting for a long time, and you go to get up, and it's like, okay, yeah, you sat too long. You need to move. Your body is made to move, and it functions much better when you move. But it doesn't have to be exercise all day. A lot of the things that we do, walking to the neighbor's house to visit, walking to the mailbox, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And Gracia.
Well, this is a good follow-up, I think, from that. I'm not good at remembering where I read or hear these stories, and some of the recent research indicated what's even better than, let's say, exercising vigorously so much in the morning and that, is to get up every hour, or maybe they even said half hour, and just move around for 5 minutes. And it's better exercise than the vigorous exercise programs they talk about.
Right.
And I know I started using a pedometer because I don't always have my phone on there to count steps. And I'm not trying to aim for 10,000 steps anymore. I aim for 5 because my insurance company now, you know, you get points and then eventually gift cards if you exercise and have 5,000 steps in a day.
Yeah.
And it's a motivator for me, just to keep moving, like you said. It's
Right.
so important. It doesn't matter what you're doing.
Yeah.
Going from one end of the house to the other or whatever. Just keep moving.
Yes.
I just wanted to share this. My neighbor had a great suggestion that I use every day now when I go out to pick up the paper, okay? And that is, well, I have trouble touching the floor, and it's so simple. Our driveway slopes down, and the suggestion was walk to the down and then come back up, so the paper is uphill from you,
Yeah.
and it's so much easier to pick it up.
Right.
And
Safer.
safer, yeah.
I mean, you know, again, overreaching, overstretching can really be a problem too. People, especially, remember, another condition that we haven't talked about is, I mean, if you have high blood pressure or low blood pressure problems, you know, bending over can really be a problem. So, all really good questions and good comments. Thank you.
A couple of my friends who take medication that's resulted in neuropathy, and you see all those pop-up ads for this machine or that machine or some, is there a treatment for that or exercise for that?
You know, I have to be honest, I really can't answer that question. I have no experience with that. I know there are a lot of machines out there, and I really don't have any opinion, yay or nay, either way. But, you know, we're all individuals, and what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another. So, I mean, I would never discourage anyone from trying something to make yourself better. So.
I go to a personal trainer and 2 half-hour sessions a week. And the motivation there is she works on balance and throws some balls and all this stuff. And I probably wouldn't do that if I was on my own. And I guess the question is how important it is to be part of an exercise group for the motivational side of it.
Well, and that goes back to my comment. What is your passion? What do you like to do? And do it in a group. I agree 100% with you. If I didn't go to my water aerobics class and my deep water core work, I'd probably not be in the pool 6 days a week. Going to an activity is really, really important. That is actually the reason that my husband and I are here. We are from Minnesota, and we were finding in the wintertime when it was cold, we just didn't like going outside anymore. We weren't ice skating, downhill skiing, cross-country, snowmobiling, all those things we used to do. And it's like, we're sitting around, and this isn't good for us. So it's like, we would vacation for short periods in warm climate and like, oh yeah, this feels so much better. It's like, yeah, it was a no-brainer.
In
So,
Minnesota, I interrupted you, but
No.
you go to the mall. And
Uh-huh.
walk around the mall,
you know, the only, and that's a really good idea, indoor activities. The problem was, is we lived in what we called, our church had a plaque, God's country. And we were in the middle of nowhere. So.
Or it could get expensive.
So. Right, so, really good comments. All right. So just one other comment about home safety, is lighting. Especially at night, and I didn't think I'd ever be to the point where it's like, I need to have a night light, and I do, but I do now. You know, on the way out of my bed, down the hall to the bathroom, I have motion night lights, and if I get out of bed, they come on. So important, because again, in the dark, you take away your vision, it's a lot harder to balance. Okay? So lighting is very important. All right, well, what I would like to do, unless there's any other questions, we're going to talk a little bit about exercise then. Some exercises that you can do to help with your balance. And we're going to, I'm going to start in a seated position. And you can, if you, again, remember my rules, if it hurts, don't do it. If you don't feel safe, don't do it, okay? So, first thing we're gonna do is we're just gonna sit up nice and straight. And we're gonna start with your neck, and I just want you to bring your chin down to your chest. And then look up. Chin down to your chest. Now, if you have neck issues, only do what you're comfortable. You're not trying to impress me. You don't, just do what you're comfortable. Okay, and then turn to the right. Smooth back, straight ahead, and to the left. Slow back, straight ahead. And one more time to each side. Now, I'm not going to do, if I was actually doing an exercise program with someone, I would probably be doing, you know, 5 to 10 reps. I just kind of want to give you a taste and show you some different things that you can do, so I'll just be doing a few reps. Now, core is really important for walking. For example, you know, when you think about every time you take a step, you're standing on one foot briefly, and your core has to be strong. Otherwise, when you lift your foot, your body would collapse. So core strength is very important. So, sitting up nice and tall, shoulders back, stomach in, feet front in, right in front of you, and you're going to just march. Keep one leg up as high as you can, keeping your core tight. Right? Now, lift your leg out to the side, come back, make sure you're engaging that core, keeping it tight. Other side. Oops. Okay, so you're exercising your hip, but you're also exercising your core. Next one is your trunk. So I want you to lean, keep your shoulders back and your head straight up. I want you to lean forward, roll to one side, back as far as you're comfortable, to the other side, forward, back. Now again, when we are walking, we have to use those trunk muscles to keep our body over our feet. So your trunk movement is very important. And then the other way. Okay, very good. All right. The next one I want you to do is just, again, always shoulders back, stomach in, sitting tall. Lift your foot out in front of you. Hold it. Point your toe. Pull your toe towards you. Point your toe. Pull it towards you. Bring it down. Send it down. Other leg up. Straighten. Foot down, up and down. Bring your foot back and send it down. Okay, there's a lot of things going on when you start doing all of those things, and it's really important to be aware. One of the things that I often, especially with core exercises, when I work with patients, people have a tendency, and they develop bad habits when they suck in their gut. They inhale and they don't breathe. You can't exercise very long, you know, and you don't want to train your abdominal muscles to only work when you inhale. So again, breathe, shoulders back, pull in the stomach and hold it. Keep breathing. If you have a tendency to hold your breath, count, talk, sing, whatever you like to do, because if you're exchanging air, you're not holding your breath, okay? So that's very important as well. All right. Now, another exercise, when we walk, a lot of times as people get older, we'll see a little bit of a forward lean, and they're kind of walking on the balls of their feet. That puts you at a higher risk of falling. What you want to be doing when you're moving your feet forward, you want to lift your leg, your heel comes down first, the weight comes over the middle of your foot, and then up on your toe. So, an exercise to help work on foot placement is just heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, switch, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe. Now do it reciprocally. So right, left, right, left, right, left. Okay, any questions on those? Doing okay? Okay. Now, you can start to get a little more strenuous by using both legs. So, for example, if you're sitting, shoulders back, stomach in, breathing, both legs up, and then bend them, and then set them down. So up, out, up, down. Okay? So again, you can challenge yourself in sitting positions too. Another modification of the one to the side is doing that bilaterally. So shoulders back, stomach in, out, in, out, in, out, in. Okay? So, if you need to. All right, so that is just some samples of some seated exercises.
Okay, because these were mainly for the core, right? They
Well,
were
core,
working.
but they work your
I-
hip flexors,
Right.
your hips too.
I had also read that the good exercise for the core is the plank
Yep.
exercise. I know that's, can be harder to do, but that I can really feel when I do
Yeah.
that.
And if you, does everyone know what a plank is?
I don't know.
Okay, so a plank is, you're on the floor.
Oh.
You're on your elbows and you're on your toes. And you lift your midsection, so you're a plank.
Are you crazy?
And you hold it. It is a really, really good
Why don't you
exercise.
demonstrate, John?
Yeah.
Getting to the floor is no problem.
Okay, now, you can do a plank against a wall, against a counter, against a table.
Right.
So in that position, you just get out and then just hold your trunk very straight. And then you can start doing weight shifting and doing it with one hand and switching, or lifting a leg, so you're only having one leg. And so, again, you can make it as easy or as difficult as you need it to be a challenge. All right, so a few more exercises. Any questions on those sitting ones? What I was going to say too, there are some really good videos out there. So really, if you are interested in more exercises, I would highly recommend. I was just kind of reviewing a bunch of them last night, and gosh, there must have been 10 by various physical therapists who have programs. So.
And what do you Google for to get them? What do you search?
Do balance, just Google
Balance?
balance exercise.
Or YouTube.
Or
Ask
YouTube.
Gracia, 'cause she's got lots
Yeah,
of
Gracia
videos.
does.
All
Every
right.
Tuesday and Thursday.
So as we talked about, normal walking, you know, we're always on one foot briefly. And actually, how much support do we have when we're running?
Not much.
There is, when you're running, there actually are fragments of time where neither feet are touching the ground. With walking, you always have one foot. But a lot of things need to happen in order for us not to fall down. And again, that's the core and shifting your balance, and then all the strength you need in your legs. So because when you walk, you are on one foot briefly, that's why it's important to do balance exercises. So, what I like to do when some exercises that I think work well for people. Number one, again, posture. People that tend to walk forward, again, it shifts their weight forward to the ball of their feet. So it's really hard to pick your feet up when your weight's forward on the ball of your foot. So standing up straight, shoulders back, core, and then I like to do heel rises and toe rises. So it really works your calf muscles and your shin muscles, and it loosens up your ankles. So a good place to start. All right, now, again, I demonstrated that holding on to a chair. If your balance is really not the best, you can hold on to two. And you can still have the benefit of the exercise, but keeping yourself safe. If you don't need the chair, you don't need to use it. And that would be the challenge to get, as you get better with these things, is to have less support. All right, and then marching. And knee up as high as you can get it. And to challenge yourself, once you lift that leg, You can try counting to 5 or increasing it to 10. And I encourage people to take a calendar and write down marching 5 seconds, if you're able to do it. Next week, maybe we're gonna try 7. So again, challenge yourself to do those things. So single-legged stance, though, is really important for balance. Now, there's a lot of ways you can challenge yourself. I borrowed my husband's seat cushion. This is really just kind of a nice piece of foam. And a lot of times I would have patients use this foam or something that's soft and squishy to work on their balance. So just putting that on the floor and then standing. And you'll be surprised, especially for people with neuropathy. They'll be all over the place. We have, in our joints, we have proprioceptors. For example, if I had you close your eyes and I took your arm and moved it a certain way, you could tell me if your arm was out to the side, behind you, in front of you, because of the proprioception. Those nerve endings that tell your brain where your body is. With neuropathy, you lose some of that. So your brain isn't saying, okay, yeah, your foot is pointed down, it's pointed up, you know, all those things. So, again, this is a way to work on proprioception a little bit because the surface is changing. So you can also do your exercises on here. So again, heel and toe rises. So this is, where did we get this? Do you remember?
Garden supply.
No.
I have it.
5 below.
Oh.
Or what, you know, I think it was it a couple bucks?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes when I've been doing home care, if patients have a couch or chair cushion that they don't care if it's on the floor, you can do it on that too. Again, you know, the thicker, the more unsteady though, so again, you might have to modify it. Okay, so some other really good exercises. The muscle on the side of your hip here needs to be strong so that, because when I lift this leg, if I have weakness here, my hip drops down. It's this muscle that holds me up. So those are your hip abductors. So hip abduction is a really important exercise to do. And when you do it, you don't want to cheat. You don't want to roll your foot out. Your foot should be pointed straight ahead and going straight out to the side. Otherwise, you're using your quads instead of your hip abductors. I'll move back here so maybe you can see. So, and again, you don't want to do that or you're not getting any hip exercise. The core has to be, the trunk has to be straight, the core stable when you're lifting that leg out. Toe pointed straight ahead. And you always want to do sides. Okay.
I do go to school and it's
Do ya?
really much
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah. Okay. Another really functional activity, and I tell people, this kind of goes back, if you've been sitting for a half hour, 45 minutes, get up and move.
Yeah.
When you come back to sit back down, do sit to stand. Now, when you sit down, you want to keep your knees over your feet. You want to bend at your hips so your trunk comes forward as you come down.
Whoa. Know where the chair is.
Yes, know where the chair is. But And if you have, when you get up, if you need to use your hands to get up, that's fine. But again, the goal is to keep those legs strong. So, you know, you want to be able to do this. Now, if you have knee arthritis and you can't bend that far, take cushions, put on your chair, and do a partial. If you can only go a little ways, do what you can. Because again, it doesn't do you any good to over-exercise, make your pain worse, and decrease your activity rather than increase it. Really good exercise. And during the day, every time you have to get up and go to the bathroom, when you come back to the chair, you're doing 5 of those. Keep your legs strong so you don't have to use your hands to push up, and you're also working on balance. Okay? All right. Now, single-legged stance, as I said, is really, really important. And in order to do it safely, again, make sure you have a wall, counter, sturdy chairs or something next to you, and just practice standing on one foot. Okay. Now, and to challenge yourself, once you can do that, and I won't fall, because there's no falling in the class. I won't say how good I'm going to be at this. But to work on your balance and to work on proprioception and movement, this is an exercise you can do. Now, I would recommend, when you try something like this, do it in a corner. So you're backed into the corner, and you've got a wall on both sides of you, okay? So you're going to stand on one foot, and you're going to, see, I told you, I'm going to fall. You're going to touch the cup. Then when you get good, you can do, but again, that's a more advanced exercise. But again, it's using strength, balance. You're having to use your vision and your proprioception, because going, for example, changing surfaces can be kind of scary sometimes. You know, and again, that kind of helps that, because you have to look and see how far you're reaching. So again, vision is very important.
It helps you to be able to continue to step up on a curb,
Right.
getting out of the car and then stepping up on a curb.
Yep. Exactly. And again, I can't emphasize this. If patients wouldn't like to exercise, I said, well, if you won't do anything, at least do this for me. This is the most important, because you're exercising those legs and you're not using your arms. You're having to stabilize your core when you go to do that. All right, any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
How about getting out of bed in the morning now? Sit, then what do you do? Stand up.
Okay, so getting out of bed, number one, safety again. What I recommend is rolling over on your side. You're going to drop your feet over the edge of the bed, push up with your one arm, and then sit, always sit for a while. Now, if you have shoulder problems, that's not easy to do always. So, but then you can work on your core. Because again, if you don't use your arm and you roll forward and then kind of roll up at the same time. That kind of helps too. How about, what about getting up off the floor? Any thoughts on that or ideas? So, right. Thank goodness, haven't fallen in the last year.
One thing that I find challenging sometimes, in the villages, we're pretty much used to what I call old people toilets. And you go like in a store someplace else or up north, and you go to sit down and there's like no seat there. And you go down and down on the floor.
Exactly. That's why that exercise is so important. And like to challenge yourself, find, you know, if your couch is not a problem, then find a chair that's just a little bit lower so you're challenging yourself. Because that's really, really, really true.
I just can't resist putting in a little bit of a plug for chair yoga. We do other kinds of movements too, but many of the things that you are showing there, we do intermittently in the different exercises we do, and we use about 4 or 5 different videos with different personalities. I don't do the exercises because I'm not certified and trained, but the people that are doing the videos are, so I feel comfortable, you know, encouraging that. And so we work, there's one video especially that's one of the other people in the congregation bought for us that really works on balance. And, you know, many of the balance exercises she did, and I need to work on it. And so I really look forward to that video, even if I can't do it very well. And again, it's not a competitive sport, I keep telling chair yoga people. So, you know, you don't worry about it if you can't do it like everybody else or like whoever you think is perfect at doing these things. But anyway, if you feel comfortable doing that, again, please join us twice a week. And like somebody else said, it keeps you accountable. Like I tell the people, I say, I will be here because I want to do it. Otherwise, it's too easy to sit at home and with my computer is usually what I'm working at, not do anything. But getting up, getting in the car, opening the car, just coming and showing up is exercise, and then doing as much as you can. So whether it's a yoga class or something else, just try to do something, and a class will help you be more accountable to do it. So,
good point. And like I said, you need to start where you need to start. Don't worry about anyone else. And you know, that really is the culture of the villages. I mean, in most of the classes and things I've been in, you know, everybody's just doing what they can do. Nobody's critical. It's like, just be moving. And, you know, you will get stronger. You really will. Well, I've noticed a huge difference since I started doing a water aerobics. I mean, it's, you know, and like I said, it's not that I'm working that intensely. I mean, I work hard when I do it, but you really can make change. If you're consistent, that's the most important thing. You can't do it for a week, and then, oh, a month later, it's like, oh, I should start that again. You're just not going to get anywhere. You've got to be consistent. And do the thing that you love, because then you're going to be more likely to continue it. So, well, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Stand up.